There are moments when what is desired comes not as a demand, but as a quiet voice within, barely noticeable, yet persistent. Notice this feeling. It does not ask loudly, but fills the space inside you, like the morning light slowly sliding across the walls of a room. The awareness of desire begins with the simple acknowledgement: it is already here, even if you do not understand it. Imagine a seed in the ground, which does not see the sun, but knows it has the strength to break through. The sensation of this seed is not a persistence of the mind, but a deep echo of your nature, a quiet energy reaching for the light. Allow yourself to meet this without judgment and without fear. Notice how often we assume that desires are external calls brought by the world. In reality, they are like a river flowing beneath the earth's surface. The image of the river. It will slowly and inexorably carve a path through the stone, because its strength lies not in noise, but in persistence. Feel how this knowledge envelops the body. A light constriction in the chest, a tremor in the palms, a quiet clarity in the mind. This is not just a whim of the ego. It is the proportion of your inner potential expressed in images. Trust this breath. Let it be your companion, not your enemy. Sometimes desires seem foreign, as if they belonged to someone else. But if you listen closely, symbols and voices within open up that tell the story of yourself. The image of a forest at dawn. Every tree holds the rings of time, each ring a testament to the years lived and winters endured, and together they create the silhouette of the forest. The sensation of this forest, the warmth of the roots, the coolness of the moss, the smell of damp earth, reminds you that your desire is rooted deeper within you than superficial thoughts. Be attentive to those desires that evoke a slight tension. This is not an alarm signal. It is a path to conscious growth. Amid the many desires, there are those that torment and pull at the same time, like the wind that both cools and invigorates. The awareness of them comes as a series of subtle questions. What are you afraid of losing? What are you striving to hold on to? The image of the wind. It does not ask for permission, but it changes the shape of the grass and the waves on the water, reminding you that movement is the natural state. The sensation of the wind, coolness on the face, a gentle fluttering of the heart, brings clarity that desire is always linked to movement within. Allow yourself to feel this wind. Do not hold on to its rhythm, but listen to its music. And in this quiet recognition lies a promise. What you want is not separate from you. It is your shadow and your light, or light at the same time. The image of the mountain. It does not feed on your aspirations. It simply exists as both challenge and possibility. The sensation of looking at the mountain, both awe and calm, invitation and respect, reveals an inner readiness to rise, even if the steps seem heavy. Allow this awareness to become the beginning of the path. Gentle, yet decisive. A soft breath, a small step. Now is the moment when the theme of desires takes on special significance. Notice how the world around changes at the speed of light. New opportunities enter life as naturally as the changing of the seasons. This is the time when the sprouted seeds inside may awaken, the ones you barely suspected existed. The realization of this is like the first rays of dawn, revealing the contours of a familiar landscape from a different angle. The image of dawn brings a sense of renewal, the coolness of the morning, the light taste of the air, and the sudden clarity. Trust this surge. Within it lies the possibility of seeing your own desire map. It may seem that desires are random signals, products of the environment, culture, or habits, but there is a subtle difference between imposed expectations and true longing. Imagine a seashore. Waves constantly appear on the surface, one replacing another, while deep currents remain invisible and powerful. The feeling of a deep current is the beat of your heart, the rhythm that gently but inexorably guides your life. These depths shape the desired, and they influence what you attract into your field. Allow yourself to feel the depth. It is wiser than surface impulses. We often try to adjust our desires to the circumstances available, believing that this is safer. But there is another truth. If a desire truly belongs to you, it already exists within, and the world around will begin to reflect it when you are ready to accept this echo. The image of a mirror in still water. The outer surface may be calm or rippled, but everything changes depending on what is reflected. The feeling of gazing into a mirror is one of tranquility and gentle surprise as you recognize yourself in a new light. Trust this reflection. Let it be your guide, not a verdict. It is not only the very fact of desire that matters, but also the path of its manifestation. How ready you are to face the internal obstacles to bring it to the surface of life. Often, the ego seeks to protect, hiding sincere yearnings behind masks of comfort and security. The image of a cave. In the darkness, there is refuge, but you can also lose part of the light. When you step outside, you first feel the blinding brightness, then clarity. The sensation of stepping out of the cave is the tension in the body, a sharp widening of the gaze, and a feeling of slight discomfort from the changes. Allow yourself this exit, slowly, paying attention to your breath. This is the path to the natural manifestation of your desire. We live in a time where there are many choices, but not all of them are ours. The interference of others' expectations can obscure the voice of the heart, and in this, there is the temptation to surrender to external noise. Imagine a field dotted with flowers, among which it is easy to get lost. Yet there is that flower that reaches for the sun more fiercely than the others. It does not shout, but its presence is impossible to overlook. The feeling of being near this flower is both a gentle thrill and calm confidence at the same time. Be attentive to them. Those desires that make the heart ache a little deserve respect and gentle attention. Now is the time to listen to these quiet impulses, because time does not forgive hesitation. It only reflects the readiness we show. The image of a river finally finding its course, a long accumulation, then clear movement. The sensation of this movement is joy from simplicity, from the fact that the energy flows where it is welcomed. Trust your flow, without demanding perfection from the path. Allow yourself to notice the first step, however small it may be. A gentle breath. Be here. There are sensations that come not as demands, but as a delicate light in a dark room. At first, you simply feel its warmth on your skin, then notice the outline, and finally understand that this is not an external lantern, but something that burns inside you. This feeling is not just a flash of emotion. It resembles a mirroring. What you want already lives as an echo deep within your soul. To feel this is to listen to the rhythm that guides you gently, like a river beneath the ice. There is movement, but it is quiet and persistent. Imagine a woman who once noticed a desire within herself to paint. It wasn't a loud call, but rather a gentle tingling in her fingertips as she held a cup of tea, and a strange urge to linger her gaze on a passing cloud. On the streets of the city, she suddenly began to look at the facades of buildings differently. not as walls, but as canvases that could be filled with color. Externally, her life didn't change. Work, obligations, familiar roots. But inside, a seed was sown. She initially hid it even from herself, because it seemed trivial, because there was the fear of losing stability. And yet, this desire continued to stir, like a fish in a deep river, noticeable only when you pay close attention. The practical step begins with small things. Allow yourself to name this sensation without judgment. Sit for 5 minutes, close your eyes, and find in your body the place where it resonates. Give it a name, not to act on it immediately, but to acknowledge the fact of its presence. Then, conduct a small experiment. Dedicate 10 minutes a day to what resonates, even if it's just a sketch, a brief attempt, or exploring one technique. Small practices are like testing the soil. You are not trying to plant a tree. You are simply placing a seed and observing how the earth changes. Also, notice the emotions that surface: guilt, joy, surprise, fatigue. They are all important information, a bridge between desire and reality. Reflection is a gentle gaze at what has been uncovered. A desire, once acknowledged, changes the rhythm of life. New points of focus appear. Old roots lose their sharpness. This does not obligate you to change everything at once. It is an invitation to dialogue with yourself. Think of water finding its way around a stone. It does not punish the stone. It simply seeks a path. And sometimes the path changes the landscape. So your desire will gradually shape the surroundings, thoughts, habits, decisions. Embrace this movement calmly, without demanding swiftness from yourself. And finally, a gentle impulse. Bring one small sign of love to what has surfaced within. It can be a pencil on the desk, a short walk, a note in a diary. Let it be a gesture of respect for yourself. Allow the desire to be visible and gently move in its direction. One small step is already movement. Introspection is not a post-mortem, not self-flagellation, and not tedious digging into past mistakes. It is a quiet cultivation of attention, like watering a dawn garden. Not hurriedly, but regularly, with respect for what is growing. When you sit down and listen to yourself, layer by layer, not only what you want is revealed, but also why it is dear to you. This is important. Sometimes, a true desire is masked by an image heard somewhere, or by the pressure of the environment. Introspection helps to distinguish genuine growth from a forced flower. Remember a person who, in their youth, chose a profession based on family expectations and lived for a long time with a sense of emptiness, as if walking along a prepared path that did not lead to their home. One day, they decided to spend a week alone, not to flee from life, but to hear what remains when the world stops giving tasks. They noticed that their attention was drawn to sounds, not the noise of the streets, but the creaking of furniture and old books. This subtle observation led to a clear revelation, a love for storytelling, for the history of human life. Thus, from a simple observation, a new goal grew, which they began to nurture with small steps. Practical technique. Ask yourself questions, but not in investigation mode, rather like an old friend gently suggesting, "What would I do if I were not afraid of others' opinions? What would I leave behind today if tomorrow a different life began?" Where in the body does the response arise when I envision this picture? If you do this exercise daily for 10 minutes, you will notice that the image of desire ceases to be abstract and becomes tangible. Write down ideas unfiltered. After a month, reread and mark recurring themes. They are the structure that indicates direction. Reflection here is not about strictness, but about gentle honesty. Being ready to see and accept what is far from ideal, but truly yours. Introspection sometimes leads to uncomfortable discoveries. Perhaps you desire not fame, but a quiet morning with a cup of tea. Perhaps you are drawn to painting not for recognition, but to reclaim a sense of meaning. This does not diminish the desire. Instead, it makes it stronger, because now it is illuminated by trust. Think of the light filtering through the leaves. It does not break branches. It softly highlights those places where there is life. Impulse for movement. Set aside 10 minutes today and tomorrow to ask yourself one question without an immediate answer. Allow the quiet light to respond. A small habit of attentiveness begins to change the map. Fear is the natural guard at the threshold of new territory. It arises not to destroy us, but to make us understand. There is a risk here, and it deserves serious consideration. Often, fear masquerades as rational arguments. It's risky. You might lose stability. You're not ready. But beneath these words lies a much older emotion, the desire to survive in the form to which the ego is accustomed. Understanding this helps to see fear not as an enemy, but as an informer. Where tension is felt in the body, there lies a boundary that you can reconsider. Story. A young man, dreaming of creating a small workshop, constantly postponed the first step. He thought he didn't have enough skills, that his family wouldn't understand, that stability was more important. One day, while walking after the rain, he stopped by the river. The water whispered softly, and in it, he saw his own reflection. Not idealized, but tired and honest. This reflection reminded him of his childhood, when he spent hours crafting things in the garage. He realized, fear is the shadow of choice, and beneath the shadow lies desire. He didn't throw everything away at once. He took a small step, bought a couple of tools, and moved his work to a corner table in the house. It wasn't a loud decision, but it melted the ice, and soon the workshop grew. Fear weakened because it became an object of attention, not a dictator. Practical advice. Look for safe ways to gradually approach what you fear. Break down the large, anxious "what if" into tiny, controlled experiments. If fear is related to losing stability, make a plan for the next 3 months. That includes small experiments and a backup support. If fear is about people's opinions, start by sharing your ambition with one trusted person. Another technique is working with the body. Breathing slows the fight or flight response. A few deep breaths, and you are no longer the same tense observer. You are the one who can choose a step. Ask yourself, what small step will show me that fear is not the one who rules? Reflection. Fear often gives us a map of the places where we can find freedom. Reevaluating boundaries is not fleeing from responsibility, but a conscious choice of where to invest your energy. What matters is not the absence of fear, but the ability to walk alongside it, like a faithful companion who does not dictate the direction, but suggests the terrain of the path. It is like hiking a mountain trail. You do not ignore the warnings, but do not let them become a bridle. Inside this balance, courage grows, quiet and steady. Gentle impulse. Today, approach your fear with curiosity, not resistance. Ask it what it guards, and then gently step towards a small experiment. A little bravery is the beginning of movement. The realization of a desire is not a sudden explosion, but a continuous work with the material of life. Like a craftsman who creates a pattern step by step, The inner urge is the fuel, but we also need a plan, an environment, and patience. Think of a gardener. The seed has power, but suitable soil, water, light, and time do their part. It is important to understand that realization is a confluence of many elements: resources, skills, environment, and the rhythms of the day. A story helps to understand this in practice. The woman we mentioned earlier began drawing for 10 minutes a day. Over time, she realized that she lacked materials and space, but most importantly, structure and support. She started attending local exhibitions, talking to other artists, and exchanging ideas. Gradually, her small sketches evolved into a series of works, and one day, one of them was accepted into a small exhibition. This did not happen suddenly. It was a combination of attention to practice, building connections, and the ability to ask for help from the environment. The world responds when you give it specific signals: regularity, quality, and openness. Practical steps can be broken down into simple levels. The first level is daily small practice, 10 minutes of attention to the task. The second level is organizing the space. Set aside a corner where there are tools or a place for reading, writing, or training. The third level is the environment. Find people who share your interest or can support you with knowledge. The fourth level is planning. Small goals for the month and quarter that can be measured. Another important element is the ability to adapt. Sometimes the path leads sideways, and that's okay. Embrace flexibility as a tool, not as an excuse. Reflection. Realization is a test of your readiness to invest energy consistently and gently. It's not about burning out to ashes, but about constantly nurturing the fire so that it doesn't go out. The ability to take care of yourself along the way is as important as the ability to take action. Rest, communication, and changing rhythms give your aspiration stability. Think of a river. It doesn't rush everywhere quickly. It sometimes slows down, sometimes speeds up, but always maintains direction. So do you, with respect for the rhythm and trust in the process. A small impulse. Choose one specific small step for the next 3 days, and take it. Let it be a symbol of respect for your desire and the beginning of a new habit. Feel how the knowledge of desire becomes a body, and let this body meet simple rituals. It's not about strict rules, but soft forms of attention that turn intention into habit. Imagine the day as a small circle of care. There is morning, there is midday, and there is evening. 3 points where you can give yourself a signal that the desire is not abandoned, but confirmed. And there are longer rhythms, a week, a month, a quarter, that help notice the changes in the landscape within. Start with a morning ritual. 5 to 10 minutes of quiet awareness. Sit or stand in a way that feels good to your body. Close your eyes and find that place inside where your desire resonates. You may place your hand on your chest or belly and feel how this desire sounds softly. Inside this little space, say a gentle affirmation to yourself. I hear you. No loud promises, just recognition of the fact. Then take 2 or 3 specific minutes to visualize the smallest possible step towards the desire. Not a project for a year, but an action for today. A sketch, a brief note, finding one course, calling a friend, or 10 minutes of practice. The morning ritual is a reminder of the direction you choose with respect for yourself. During the day, try a short check-in. In the midst of your work rhythm, find 2 or 3 minutes to check your inner compass. Close your eyes for a few breaths and ask, what resonates now? Allow yourself an honest answer, even if it sounds soft. It could be fatigue, fear, or sudden joy. A small point of contact helps correct steps. If it's fatigue, shorten the practice for today. If it's invigorating, add a couple of minutes. Such micro-dialogue maintains the connection between desire and reality, preventing the path from turning into a race. The evening ritual is a moment of respect for what has been done. Before going to sleep, take 5 to 10 minutes to write. What happened in connection with the desire? What feelings emerged? What felt heavy? And what inspired you? Here, a simple micro-plan is useful. 3 lines. What has been done? What I have learned. Next small step. This format helps track progress without pressure. The goal is not in volume, but in observation. After a week, such notes will allow you to see minimal yet stable shifts. Habits form like thin rings on a tree, unremarkably, but reliably. The weekly ritual is longer and kinder. Set aside 20-40 minutes once a week to review your notes, note recurring themes, and gently adjust the micro-plan for the next 7 days. Consider which experiments have been helpful and which are better postponed. Where you need support, who can you ask for feedback? This weekly meeting with yourself is like watering a garden. Not tumultuous, but regular. The micro-plan of actions is simple and realistic. Morning, 5 to 10 minutes of inner focusing. Define one small step for the day. Day, 2 to 3 minutes of state checking and adjustment. Evening, write 3 lines about the day. Record emotions and results. 4. Week, 20 to 40 minutes of reflection and plan adjustment. This rhythm helps maintain attention without depleting yourself. Let there be no more than 3 small goals on the weekly list. This leaves room for life and respects your resources. Tracking progress can be made simple and even aesthetic. Keep a small journal. It can be paper or digital. For each day, place 1 line with a color marker. Green, took a step. Yellow, tried, but didn't finish. Gray, no opportunity. Another simple metric is an emotional scale from 1 to 5, where you record how you felt in relation to the desire. Once a month, review these marks and note trends. Is the number of green days increasing? Is fear softening? Is joy emerging? Such a visual trace works like a mirror, soft but honest. How to maintain inspiration. Allow yourself small rituals of joy. Celebrate even a small success with a short walk, a cup of your favorite tea, or a minute of music. Share your progress with one trusted person, sometimes telling them about a small step. This creates a sense of support and accountability, but not pressure. Create a visual sign, a mood board, or a shelf with items that remind you of your desire. A visible symbol brings you back to yourself when attention wanes. If stagnation occurs, don't get upset. Be attentive to the rhythm and adjust the intensity. Inspiration lives in regularity, not in episodic bursts. Network and external resources can be used carefully. Small courses, books, trusted communities help accelerate skill acquisition. But remember, the main teacher is your attention. You are not obliged to do everything at once. Experiment within safe boundaries and note what gives energy. If criticism arises from the outside, look closely. It is more likely a mirror of fear than a truth about you. How to cope with setbacks and doubts. Prepare a gentle support plan in advance. If a day without practice occurs, accept it as information, not as a failure. Make one very small gesture the next day, a 5-minute attempt, a note in a journal, a call to a friend. A system of small repetitions restores power to the desire faster than dramatic solutions. Let your strategy be tender and persistent at the same time. And finally, a concrete piece of advice that you can carry in your pocket. Start today with one step that will take you no more than 10 minutes. Maybe it's a pencil sketch, a couple of sentences in a note, searching for one book, or a short walk with the thought of your goal. This step is not a test of your willpower, but an act of recognition. The desire has been heard and receives care. Let this day be a small change, its scent, slightly moist earth after rain, and the feeling, like a gentle touch to the root. If you wish, stay close. Allow yourself to subscribe to the channel and like the video so as not to lose the next day of inspiration. Remain in soft presence. Before closing this brief meeting, let me bring together what has been said. Desire is not a whim of the world, but a hint of your inner landscape. A seed that asks for light, the wind that stirs the leaves, or a quiet path to the summit. We talked about how to recognize this feeling, how to listen to it, how not to be afraid, and how to gently move toward it. It is important to remind ourselves that the whole journey is not a one-time revelation, but a series of small, coordinated steps, like a row of stones across a stream. One after another, supportive, calm, attentive. When you view your desires with this new attitude, you begin to see that many answers are already within. They resonate in the body, in small joys, in the way you linger on an object, or how your heart slightly contracts and expands at a single thought. Accepting this is not the same as rushing into action. It is a gentle permission to exist and be heard. The path is not without obstacles, but it is not filled with drama either. It is more like a long hike, where sometimes you walk slowly, sometimes you rest, and sometimes you suddenly discover dawn around the corner. Remember the metaphor of the forest and the river. A tree does not grow faster under the pressure of air, and a river does not rush to cut corners. Your desire unfolds at its own pace. Being present means respecting that pace and seeing honesty within it. If you gently nurture your desire without drowning it in constant control or criticism, it will respond in kind. It will give you signs, show the way, and suggest the next step. It is a dialogue, not a dictatorship, and there is room for humanity in it, for fatigue, for doubts, for joy. Let there remain a sense of completeness and warmth in the end. Every step, even the smallest, leads to change, because energy directed intentionally begins to redistribute around you. The outer world responds to the inner measure you display, not always instantly, but reliably. Over time, it will be visible how mirrored changes appear around you. People, habits, opportunities. Everything begins to relate to what you acknowledge inside. If it seems to you now that the road is long and hard, remember that weight often gives depth. It does not speak of failure, but of you taking something important into your hands. Let this thought warm you like a blanket on a cool night. It is soft and enveloping, giving you the strength to go further. Maintain kindness toward yourself and respect for those moments in life where desire is just beginning to emerge. The concluding note is an invitation to continue. The path does not end with the closing of this video. It continues in breakfasts, in small things, in the decisions you quietly make. If this feeling resonated, we would be happy to remain close. Consider subscribing and giving a like if you want to receive new days of inspiration and return to this calm map again. And let the last words be like a quiet exhale of hope. Breathe softly, move gently, and remember, everything you need to begin is already within.